My name is Don Han. I am from Laos. My family actually escaped the Laos communist government at the time in 1980. That's post the Vietnam War, or the secret war in Laos. I was born in 1968, which is in the midst of the war. And my recollection of that is, I remember one day my mom and I went to a morning market, and we would see all these family on the side of the road. And I was asking my mom, who are these people? And my mom told me these are refugees from another town. And I kind of didn't understand what that means. Both of my parents own a cafe in our hometown, northern Laos. Our house, our home's always been the center point of where all of the foreigners come to congregate and have breakfast and have their lunch and have their dinner. Especially my dad is the person who knows how to make baguette, make the bread, and where the foreigner wanted to come there because there's bread. And so we made a lot of friends who are Americans or French that come to Laos. Long after that, we were working up in the middle of the night, and my parents said, well, we got to go to a hiding area because there's war going on. And I didn't understand much of that, so we went into a basement of our neighbor, and we were hiding in there for several days. And after several days, we heard all these trucks coming through towns, and the town watchmen come and say, oh, y'all can come out now, go back to your home because we have a whole new government. So we came back out, and of course there's army tank and trucks and things like that, downtown. So I live in the city, and noticed that there's new flag, that's being put up in every single house, and there's celebration. It's more like a liberation of a new government. And not too long after that, we start seeing foreigners start disappearing, and not too long after that, the currency of our country changed. They changed the currency, and unfortunately, our restaurant had to be closed because we don't have clients, we don't have customers, because they all left. So my parents became, from a restaurant owner, slowly, becoming a farmer. And we went from a very wealthy family to pretty poor. Little by little, we start seeing our neighbors, our family, our friends started escape the communists into Thailand and went into refugee camp. But my parents didn't want to leave. Even though a couple of my brothers who left on their own, but my parents didn't want to leave because they didn't want to leave the oldest son. And in 1979, my brother came home. My oldest brother came home. And it was too hard. I mean, we were poor, we don't have much. So my parents decided, for my future, for my little sister's future, for the future of the younger one, they decided, let's leave. So we were willing to sacrifice everything and left the country. We actually escaped. I was about 12, and being a 12-year-old, growing up mostly in poverty at the time, it was a big responsibility to say, you and your uncle is going to plan an escape to cross the whole family to Thailand. And that was a big part of that. And we did that. One night we got everybody in a canoe and we left, and we came to Thailand. And we went into a refugee camp, and the first camp. And there we lived there. We were waiting to figure it out who are going to be our sponsoring country, who's going to pick us up. We submitted paperwork to France. We submitted paperwork to the United States, and we're just sitting there and waiting. And refugee camp is a bit tough because you have all these people who escape the former country and come into a camp where they wanted to be picked up and go somewhere. And some people who've been living there for a decade, they didn't have a sponsor. Luckily for my family, we get picked up by United States government sponsorship, and we will only, live in the refugee camp for 9 months. That's a very short time. It's a very stressful time for us because the uncertainty of will we make it, will we make it to our new country.